22 push-ups in 22 days. It's a popular trend now. I myself have been nominated on a few occasions to continue to spread the word via social media. And it's for a great cause. On average, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. That's beyond tragic. America's defenders taking their own lives after service, many of them physically injured from war, often emotionally injured. So instead of just knocking out a few push-ups, I thought I would do something a little different. I'm going to tell you a story. Don't worry, I'll do the push-ups afterwards. I want to tell you about a man named Dan. Dan was born in Glen Cove, Long Island, New York, on November 11th, 1873. Standing a mere 5 feet 6 inches tall and weighing only 132 pounds, Dan made a name for himself as an amateur boxer despite his small stature. It seemed that fighting was in his blood. It was during the Spanish-American War that Dan decided to serve his country. He enlisted in the Marine Corps January 10th, 1899, in hopes of seeing direct combat. But that would come to pass as the war ended before completion of boot camp. With the fighting now ceased, he was ordered out to sea to serve with the Asiatic Fleet. It seemed his tour of duty would be without action, at least for the time being. But as we all know, there's always someone or some group that stirs up trouble. The Boxer Rebellion was heating up. A violent Chinese militia nicknamed Boxers, due to their ritual that looked strangely similar to shadow boxing, began opposing imperial expansion. They were leading an uprising in China, murdering missionaries and Chinese Christians alike. War was declared on foreign powers, and that didn't sit too well with the United States. In May of 1900, Dan, a private at the time, and his fellow Marines were deployed at Takubei, China, en route to Peking on the USS Newark. After landing, however, intense fighting at the Tartar Wall prior to the new arrivals of Marines required them to regain a foothold on the wall that was left unattended. With Captain Newt Hall in charge, Dan and his fellow Marines mounted the wall with bayonet-tipped rifles and fought the Boxers with a ferocity for which United States Marines are known for. On August 14th, Captain Hall and the rest of the remaining Marines sent back for resupply and reinforcements, leaving Dan to guard the wall alone. It would be a moment nailed down in history. The Boxers thought they would dispatch the single Marine quickly, but that proved difficult. Despite wave after wave of enemy onslaught, Dan repelled the Boxers single-handedly until reinforcements arrived. Legend has it that 200 dead Boxers littered the area where Dan fought along the wall. Now that number may be slightly exaggerated, but when was the last time you single-handedly fought off an army? For this action, Dan received the Medal of Honor on July 19th, 1901. But the story doesn't end there. Dan continued to serve valiantly in the Corps with the same tenacity as he had on that wall, but it wouldn't be until several years later where he would distinguish himself yet again. October 24th, 1915, President Woodrow Wilson ordered 330 Marines to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, under the specific order from the Secretary of the Navy to, quote, protect American and foreign interests, end quote. U.S. forces occupied Haiti, assisting the Haitian government against the rebel forces. Dan was now a gunnery sergeant. During a patrol of the Haitian countryside, he and 35 other Marines were ambushed by an estimated 400 Haitian Caicos rebels while crossing a river. The Marines battled their way across the river and set up a defensive position. During the intense fighting, the Marines lost their machine gun somewhere in the river. Their situation was dire already, but now night was falling and the enemy was still waiting. During the night, Dan left the safety of the defensive position in search of the machine gun alone. Silently sliding into the river, he scoured the waters and eventually found the lost weapon. He strapped it to his back and slipped back to the platoon undetected. By morning light, the Marines were able to regroup and release their counterattack, devastating the rebel forces. When it was all said and done, Dan earned yet another Medal of Honor. 2 Medals of Honor? Yes, 2 of them. There have been a handful of Marines that have attained 2 Medals of Honor in our nation's history. And that would be an amazing story if it ended there. But it doesn't. You see, Dan went off to fight the Germans in World War I. At the age of 44, Dan continued to make history. In June of 1918, during the famous Battle of Belleau Wood, he put out a fire on the verge of igniting an entire ammunition depot. Just 2 days later, as the enemy continued to bombard the area with heavy gunfire, he visited every one of his machine gun nests, encouraging his men to carry on the fight out of the trenches. So inspired were the Marines that they not only overthrew the German positions, but they took over the entire town of Lucy-les-Bocage. 3 days later, Dan single-handedly charged a machine gun nest armed only with his Colt 1911 and a few grenades. He managed to kill the commander and take 14 prisoners. Between those acts of heroism, Dan made several trips to no man's land to recover injured Marines. He was injured several times in the process, but continued to press on. Dan was actually put up for a 3rd Medal of Honor, but someone at the top didn't like the idea of a man having 3 of the nation's highest honors. So they decided on the Navy Cross, the Navy and Marine Corps' 2nd highest medal for valor, the Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's 2nd highest medal for valor, and the French Médaille Militaire. I'm sure most of you probably already know who this legendary Marine was, but just in case you don't, it's Dan Dailey. After 30 years of service, many of which were in the heat of combat, Sergeant Major Dailey retired on February 6, 1929. He took a job as a bank guard on Wall Street, New York City, and held the position for several years. And on April 28, 1937, Sergeant Major Dan Dailey died. But even that's not the end of the story. Dan Dailey even had a U.S. destroyer named after him, the USS Dailey, that saw action in both World War II and Korea. Sergeant Major Dan Dailey, still fighting long after passing away. Sergeant Major Dailey earned the respect of officers and enlisted alike. He also earned a number of medals and awards during his service besides the 2 Medals of Honor, including the Navy Cross, the Distinguished Service Cross, 3 letters of commendation, the Good Conduct Medal with 2 Bronze Stars, the China Relief Expedition Medal, the Philippine Campaign Medal, the Expeditionary Medal with 1 Bronze Star, the Mexican Service Medal, the Haitian Campaign Medal, the World War I Victory Medal with the Aisne, Saint-Mihiel, Méu Aragon, and defensive sector clasps. The Medallier Militaire, the Croix de Guerre with Palm, and the Fourragère. The last three awards being from the French government. The French Fourragère means a lot to me specifically because I served in the 3rd Battalion, 6th Marine Regiment, same as Sergeant Major Dailey. And it was during the Battle of Belleau Wood that the 5th and 6th Marine Regiments fought so tenaciously that they received the name Teufelhunden from the Germans. Or you may have heard the English version, Devil Dogs. Sergeant Major Dailey's combat record remains unequaled in the annals of Marine Corps history, and he most certainly has earned that honor. So now you're probably saying to yourself, great story, but what does that have to do with 22 veterans dying each day? I'm glad you asked. Instead of doing 22 push-ups and challenging someone else to do the same, I want to do 22 histories of 22 of the U.S.'s greatest heroes, the ones that laid it all on the line, both past and present. Now, I know there are more than 22 great heroes in United States history, but I wanted to keep it with the 22-day setup. I'll be picking different heroes from different branches of the military and different time periods, and the reason is twofold. First, to inspire the veterans who may think all hope is lost. The story I read and the ones I will read show a person or persons defying the odds. When hope was fading and death seemed imminent, these heroes fought to the bitter end, some surviving the ordeal and others not, but sacrificing so that others may carry on. That's the epitome of selflessness. And as servicemen and women and veterans alike, we need to have that resolve and fortitude to endure the great trials and tribulations life will throw at us, both on and off the battlefield. We've been trained to do a difficult job, but we must endure so that we can preserve this great nation of ours. It's worth fighting for, and it's worth dying for, but there's no room for surrendering all hope. Reach out to your brothers and sisters in arms. Don't give up hope, and don't go in it alone. Secondly, to bring awareness to what our nation's protectors do for our country and for its people to the forefront. Simply put, we have a nation full of heroes that do mind-blowing things for this country and its citizens. It costs a lot, and unlike most U.S. citizens, those serving have counted the cost and are willing to pay it, up unto death itself, which is the ultimate price for the freedoms that we so cherish. So I challenge you not to look the other way when you can help, even if it's the tiniest of things. I challenge you, picture walking a mile in a vet's combat boots. Put yourself in their shoes. I challenge you to open your eyes to the reality that freedom is not free. And while you may not have paid anything for it, somebody else has. From our founding fathers to the youngest private in the military today. George Orwell is often quoted as saying that, quote, people sleep peaceably in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf, end quote. Regardless if Mr. Orwell said it or not, it's true. The warrior provides the means for the pacifist to live out his life according to his beliefs. So I want to say to all my brothers out there, Semper Fi Marines, happy birthday. And all my veteran brothers and sisters out there, thank you for your service. And to the rest of you watching this video, thank you. Please share it with everyone else you can possibly think of. I'd really appreciate it, and so will the veterans out there. And I will continue to put out a new video. It may not be every day. I have a 3-month-old now, so it's kind of hard to do. But I will keep up with it regularly. I will be writing and getting the histories of each veteran hero that I find. So I appreciate you watching this. Please share, like, and subscribe. It would really help me out, and it would really help out this cause. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video. I guess I ought to do the push-ups now, right? Okay. All right, as promised, I'm doing my push-ups. So, here we go. All right, so until next time, I'll be writing another story and doing some more push-ups. Pretty spread the word. We're trying to make this thing go viral, I guess you would say. Anyway, thanks for watching. Subscribe, share. That would be a big help. Thanks. Have a great night or day. Whatever.